Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Scrassy, and today we're going to be looking into what is a function. So, by the end of this video, we'll be answering what is a function, why do we use functions in video games, but also just programming in general, and then also how can we use them for our own projects. So, let's get straight into it. First of all, let's explain what a function is. So, a function is basically a container that holds code. That is all it is. So let's go and have a little demonstration here, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my first person, I believe it is, blueprints. Got my first person character here. You can do this in any class, any blueprint class, even coding if you are doing in C++, stuff like this. It's all the same concept, but it's depending on what you're using, it can be a little bit different. So most blueprints have the exact same way to make functions and stuff like that. C++ a little bit different, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. So again, a function is simply just a container that holds code. And the container that holds code can also have input and output variables. So what does that mean? It basically means that you can go and funnel in inputs, so variables, and then also get a result out of that if you want to. Okay, but let's go and show off exactly what this is. So you can see here we have a little functions tab, and this will be right over here. If you have everything closed, it'll be just here called functions, and there are things called an override. Okay, and that allows you to override certain functions that are actually preset by Unreal Engine. So got one here like begin actor begin overlap. So that is a function that is when your character overlaps with another actor. Stuff like that. So you can override certain functions, but we're not really going to focus about that right now. That is more complex because you are working with stuff that isn't yours from scratch. But in terms of a function, you've actually been using functions this entire time. Okay, you might be thinking, oh, I don't know what one is. I've never used one before, stuff like that. You have used one. This is technically a function right here. Okay, if I go like this and I let's say do, I don't know, what's a function? Let's do random. Let's see, there's a random one. Actually, you know what? I think line trace would be line trace by channel. This is a function. See here? So you can tell if it's a function because it has a little F symbol, but also, even though this doesn't have an F symbol, this is mainly a function as well. What the function is, it's just a container and it just holds code. And then when you fire this container off, it's going to execute all the code that's inside of it. So you can see here, this is what I mean about the input and output parameters. So you have all your start, your end, trace channel, trace complex, actors to ignore, draw debug, ignore self. You got all these other things here and they're all inputs. So depending on what you plug in or what you just type straight in here, it's going to change the outcome of this. In this certain circumstance, it's not going to be that much different, the outcome, but it takes on all these variables. Inside this function, it's going to do a bunch of calculations, stuff like that, and then it's going to go and give you, some results. It's going to give you a boolean and a hit result struct. But that's literally what a function is. So an easier way to show it off is if I create one. So again, if you go to here, these functions, instead of overriding, we can just go to this little plus, and this will add a new function. Just go plus, and boom! Look at that. We have created a new function. We can call this what you want. So let's call this calculation or calculate. So what this does, let's just say we want to add two numbers together. Okay, we want to have two inputs. We want to add them together and give a result. Okay, very simple. So I'll show you what we're doing. So call it calculate, and you can see here now we have our function with our little F symbol. That's right here. Okay. So we can close out, we can open it back up, got it here. So this is inside the function, because you might be thinking, okay, cool, my event graph is gone. All I've got is this little calculate symbol. That is correct. You go to your little tabs here, and if you didn't know, you can go to your little tabs up here. You got your event graph, and then which is where everything mostly is. You've also got your little, this is the function, the one we're in right now, and you can tell it's got a little F here again. The F is a very key symbol, the lowercase f. Very clear indication that it's a function. And then you go your viewport as well. We go to event graph. You can also pull this calculate out, drop it in. Awesome. So this is a custom function that we have made. Okay. So now if we look at this, let's say, I don't know, on where's our begin play? We can go to, yeah, I believe it is. Awesome. Let's go and pull this all over here. What we're going to do is we're just going to make a new pin. You don't have to do this. This is literally just showing off what it can do. What we're going to do, this is our calculate function. Okay. Now that we've pulled this off, when we begin play, it's going to fire this off. It's going to do whatever is inside this box. Okay. It's a container. All it is saying, hey, we've got this code and we've got this container here. We're going to get this code. We're going to squish it together. I'm going to put it inside this little container. I'm going to put a name on it. That name here is calculate. Okay. If I double click on it, it will actually automatically open that up. So if you do want to go and do a quick edit of one of your functions, just double click on it and it'll be done. Now we can do our code inside here. So instead of, basically I'll show you what we're going to do here first. Let's go and get a print string because we want to print, actually I'm going to save that for the output. What we're going to do is we're going to have two inputs. We're going to make them float because we just want it to be a point decimal number. So let's do, I don't know, this can be value 1 and this here can be value 2. Awesome. So I got value 1 and value 2. We can then go do a multiply by these two together. You know what, let's just do an add. So we'll right click to the plus symbol and we'll go down to add and we're going to add these two together. Okay. Awesome. And then what we're going to do is click on here. We're going to do an output and we're going to call this result. It's going to be a float again. Now what's happening is if we go and plug this straight in, all it's doing, right? Very basic function. Okay. Functions can get very complex very quickly depending on what you're doing, but this is a very simple example. What we're doing is we're getting our input value 1 and our input value 2. We're going to add them together and then we're going to put it into the result. Okay. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us this result output. It's going to get, so let's say this was 1 and this was 1. It's going to put them together. It's going to be 2. And then it's going to give the result of 2. And now if we compile, go to our Venn graph, you can see now we've got our inputs and this is our output. Okay. Let's say if we do 2 and 2. Okay. And what we can do is we can go string, plug this into there. There. Awesome. So what we're doing now is we are simply getting these two values here. So you can actually go and plug stuff into here if you want. So if you want it to be dynamic, but for right now, I'm just going and putting in hard numbers, meaning that they're just static, they don't change. Okay. So now what's going to happen is it's going to get these two numbers. It's going to get 2 plus 2, and it's going to give a result of 4. We are then getting that result and we're going to put it into a print string. Now, if I go and click play, see, in the very top left, we have 4. You didn't see that? I'll start it again. Look in the top left. We've got 4 there. So that's basically it, guys, what like a function is. So it is really good for basically having code that you just want to contain. I would try and use functions as much as you can, even if it's for very simple stuff. Unless it's maybe like something like very basic like this, where I'm changing the pitch, stuff like that. But even then, you know, might want to put into a function just to make it more clean, because you do want to make sure, and I've seen in other videos, organization is key. If you're able to organize your code and put it into functions, that will allow you to basically organize it. And so that's what a function is. Basically, it allows you to organize stuff easier, allows you to have a bunch of stuff crammed in. So you can see I've got a plus symbol. Normally you would have like a bunch of different stuff. You can see I've got this function here called get left hand. Okay, I've got a bunch more stuff in here. Okay, and so if I pull it out here, all this is the one function. There's nothing else besides a result. Okay, where what's in it is a bunch more stuff. So This basically keeps everything more contained, more nice, more organized, stuff like that. Also allows you to call it from different classes. So if let's say I have this calculate function and I want to do a bunch of calculations for different classes, or when I do different things, let's say when I reload a gun and I shoot my gun, right? Maybe I want to go and calculate the ammo I have left. I can go make a calculate function or calculate ammo function, and I can call that every time I change the amount of ammo. So every time I shoot or reload, stuff like that, I can call the same function in different places. And that's why they're good as well. So if you know that you're going to be using, you got a big amount of code or even just a moderate amount of code, and you know you're going to be using that multiple times, the exact same or 90% the exact same amount of code, I would put it all into a function, and that will allow you to basically just call this instead of having to go and write an entire function. Just like how I've got here, you can go and call this multiple times in different classes or in different parts of your project. Your class, stuff like that. And all you have to do is pull out this and go, cool, let's just plug that in, done. So having to go and make all these different nodes and stuff again. That's basically what it is, guys. I don't think there's really much else to talk about. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Mostly organization and calling certain code multiple times, and that's when you would want to use it, when you're going and you got a bunch of code, calling it multiple times, you want to just put into a function. That's basically it, guys. I don't think there's really much else, but yeah, that's basically it. Again, functions, all they do is they just hold code. That's all they do. So instead of doing it, out here, I can go and make all this a function. And one actually little neat trick, that's what I was trying to remember, was that if you go and you highlight what you want, let's say I'm highlighting all these, I can go right click, I can go collapse to function. Boom. So then I can go and do, call this pitch cap or something like that. And then now I've got my function here called pitch cap, meaning, it's capped at a certain pitch, whatever, just a very crappy name. And if I double click on it, it's got everything in here. So it's got my function. So now all this is inside this. And if I call this, it's just going to do everything that's inside of here. Okay, so that's another neat trick as well. If you're like, oh, well, I don't want to go and remake a bunch of functions based off code I've already made, then it's fine. Same things like this. If you want to literally collapse this whole thing, you can go and right click and go collapse to function. Okay, and that will collapse this whole thing to a function. So that's basically what it is, guys. Thank you so much for coming in, and I'll see you in the next one.